Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. This is live stream 918. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out and talk about the latest in tabletop gaming news and normally take a first look at a game. And that's what we'll be doing tonight. So it's not as if we're engaged in rocket surgery or anything along those lines. Although, I guess we do have something rocket related. Yes, that's right, because tonight I am going to dive in and take a first look at Star Trek Adventures Shackleton Expanse, the campaign guide, which is from Modiphius Entertainment. So we are going to be taking a peek inside this in just a while, so stay tuned for that. Should mention, if you are tuning in for the first look at Shackleton Expanse and you're not overly familiar with the show, do want to point out, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So if you are watching live, kick back, relax, take it easy. We'll probably get to the first look in about 35 minutes. Maybe a little bit more. So we are going to be jumping on into that in just a bit. Now, if you happen to be a subscriber to the channel, you'll be all set because you'll have something to occupy your time if you're not into the tabletop gaming news. Although I've got some really cool news today, as I do most days. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, I did mention that if you are a subscriber, you'll have something you can occupy your time with, and that is because we have chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you are a subscriber and have been a subscriber for more than 48 hours and you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, a comment, or maybe there's something about the Shackleton Expanse you want a closer look at, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Roger Perdome, Mark Dandy, Kathy Evans, Dan Wheeler, and Kevin R. Smith are hanging with us in chat early on. Very nice. Welcome aboard, everybody. So let's jump on into the news because I've got a nice eclectic mix tonight. First off, Hachette Boardgames has announced the North American release of the Grey Games title, Ruha. I think that's how it's pronounced. I am not positive because I think, once again, this is a fictional fantasy name. So I don't know. But Ruha is coming. Here's the dope. After a millennia of sterility, life is sprung again on Ruha. As a venerable shaman, one of its 5 worlds have been entrusted to you. Your powers are divine and allow you to shape the environment in order to turn this world into a cradle of life energy, keeper of serenity and harmony for the centuries to come. Obtain the most victory points, represented as life energy, to win the game. You have 2 ages to turn your world into an energetic core of Ruha. In Age 1, vegetation, terrain, and wildlife will appear. In Age 2, civilizations will thrive. The game takes place over 4 rounds, each divided into 3 turns, followed by a scoring phase. Each turn, you're going to follow 5 steps. 1. Simultaneously take all biome cards from the satellite whose symbol matches the one beneath your avatar on your player board. 2. Choose 1 card to place on any square of your player board or discard to the black hole. 3. Receive a divine entity if you create a row or column of matching symbols on your player board. 4. Activate your avatar, plus any divine entities in the same row or column as your avatar. 5. Finally, move your avatar 1 notch clockwise along the edge of your player board, changing the row or column that will be activated on the next turn. During the scoring phase, you will activate all your biomes with spore tokens and any divine entities you may have, gaining crystals and points as shown on the components. Roha is for 2 to 5 players, ages 10 and up, plays around 45 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $44.99 when it arrives on June 28th. Gotta say, this has piqued my interest. It looks kind of cool. And I gotta say, this looks like it's a little more in-depth, a little deeper gameplay than what we normally will see from some of the Hachette Games releases. So that has me intrigued as well. Once again, this is going to arrive next month, end of next month, carrying an MSRP of $44.99. Deja Vu and Flaming Heron are hanging with the gang. Good to see you both. Flaming Heron happens to be one of our chat moderators from across the pond. That's right, but in Australia, not in England. I know, usually when you say across the pond, people automatically think, oh, okay, UK. I don't know. To me, Australia is also across the pond. It's across a far larger amount of pond. Moving right along. This quarter should see the release of the eagerly anticipated Solar 175 from Cogito Ergo Meeple, following a successful Kickstarter. Here's the latest. Solar 175 is an epic Euro-style legacy experience for 1 to 5 players set in a dystopian science fiction future. The game utilizes bag building, area control, and worker placement. It is inspired as a fusion between classic Euro games such as Allianz and El Grande, and a unique thematic and evolving universe. Solar 175 is set in a prosperous, expanding solar system with immersive world building and engaging narratives. The game is rich on theme and will feature interesting ethical and philosophical choices, as well as engaging Euro-style gameplay. Play occurs across 3 cyclical phases: the draw phase, the assign phase, and the action phase. Players simultaneously draw workers from their unique embossed bag and assign these workers to jobs on their double-layered player board. During the action phase, players take turns to remove workers from these jobs to perform a large variety of actions to help propel them to victory. The winner is the player with the most influence points at the end of the game. Influence points can be gained via many different strategies, such as helping to build giant megastructures, influencing the upcoming election, and building outposts across the solar system. Play continues until one player has built all of their 15 unique outpost tokens, which triggers the election phase and endgame scoring. Solar 175 has an innovative endgame scoring system, which changes based on how the players interact with the game world. This creates unique winning conditions in each game, making each one feel fresh and distinctive. The Legacy campaign contains dozens of hours of content with engaging narrative and multiple endings. Once complete, the game is fully replayable, and the game world continues to expand and evolve endlessly. Solar 175 is for 1 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays around 40 to 120 minutes. I'm going to take a guess that's based on player count. Also carries an MSRP of $99.99. I do know this kickstarted very, very quickly, and I do believe that most of the backers have received their copies. So this should be in stores fairly soon. Having said that, for some strange reason, their website is down. So it is a critical error event taking place. It's built on WordPress. So it seems like somebody did some sort of an update on their either on their WordPress or some plugins for their WordPress that has caused a problem. And when I went to take a peek at their website today, it was down. So should mention that. So Flaming Heron came in and Kevin says, yep, now we got to stop misbehaving. I was like, I didn't necessarily see any misbehaving going on. All right, let me grab a quick sip here. It's like Flaming Heron is searching for his ban hammer. Flaming Heron says, oh, WordPress. Actually, the Gaming Gang runs on WordPress. I have absolutely no issues with it. But then again, I stay on top of things. So there is that. And I have, everything updated to what it should be, as opposed to people running, 2 versions of PHP, back on it. So your site runs pretty slow. Anyway, next news piece. Personally, I think this is a pretty big news piece. I don't know what you'll think. But earlier today, Rebellion Unplugged revealed they've purchased the Tunnels and Trolls role-playing game. Here's the scoop. First published in 1975 by Flying Buffalo as a more player-friendly alternative to Dungeons & Dragons, Tunnels and Trolls introduced role-playing to new audiences through its streamlined mechanics and pioneering approach to solo role-playing. Now, almost 50 years after its original publication, the Rebellion Unplugged team is bringing Tunnels and Trolls into a new era. Tunnels and Trolls is an unrecognized trailblazer in the games industry, said Duncan Malloy, head of Rebellion Unplugged. The team at Flying Buffalo responded to an entirely new medium by focusing on how role-playing could be more approachable, more accessible, and more fun. So much of the modern era of role-playing, from old-school hacks to streamlined systems to solo play, can directly trace its roots directly back to this series. We're very excited to channel that spirit in bringing Tunnels and Trolls into the modern era. When I first discovered Tunnels and Trolls in the mid-1970s, I didn't realize I was unlocking a lifelong interest in fantasy role-playing games, books, movies, and all things genre-based, recalled Rebellion CEO and creative director Jason Kingsley, OBE. The game has remained with me throughout my life, and I can't wait to see what the team have in store for it. After the passing of Flying Buffalo founder Rick Loomis, the company had been taken over by WebSphere Inc. We are very excited to see Rebellion expand this rich property added John Houston, president of WebSphere. As a longtime fan, I always felt that the Flying Buffalo role-playing lines had such incredible potential. As part of the acquisition, Rebellion have taken over Flying Buffalo's entire line of role-playing games, including the cult classic City Books, Grimtooth, and Merchants, Spies, and Private Eyes. The entire back catalog of Flying Buffalo PDFs will remain available to purchase online, with future releases coming directly from Rebellion Unplugged. So stay tuned. I will be bringing you more news about Tunnels and Trolls as it becomes available. I have reached out to Rebellion Unplugged to learn more and to offer the opportunity for interviews as a new edition of Tunnels and Trolls gets closer. I would take a guess. This is probably going to kickstart. And one thing that I would be curious about is if the wonkiness of the higher level play will be addressed. Because one thing that I had noticed, and I did mention this in my review, and I like Tunnels and Trolls a lot. I think it's very cool. And I personally think that it does focus far more on the actual like group dynamic than just about any other fantasy role-playing game out there. So I like that because everybody's actually adding to the combat especially. But it gets to the point where you're like adding all of these numbers and rolling all of these dice with higher level play. And I guess the way to get around it has always been, well, trim the number of dice. But you start doing that, then it's not feeling like high level play anymore. Flaming Heron says Tunnels and Trolls is a system that they and their friends will always come back to. Kevin points out they saw this on Twitter, hopefully from me, because I tweeted it out earlier. It is big news since it means Tunnels and Trolls will continue to be published. Yep. Yes, it will. And we've discussed it before that Tunnels and Trolls is very popular in Japan. And I do believe, it may have been Kevin who pointed this out when we were talking about Tunnels and Trolls a while back. And I brought up the fact that it's very popular in Japan. It was, like I said, I think it was Kevin who pointed out that the reason why is because Tunnels and Trolls only uses 6-sided dice, which I knew. But I guess that, the polyhedral gaming dice were not easy to acquire in Japan. But of course, 6-sided dice are very, very easy to get your hands on anywhere in the world. Hell, you can make your own. So stay tuned. I will have more news. Kevin says, no, it wasn't him. I always assume it was Kevin because Kevin's sort of our role-playing game historian. All right, it was somebody. I know it was somebody out there. So Flaming Heron says that one of the few, I guess, outlets that he pays attention to on Twitter is the Gaming Gang. Very cool. Kevin says it might have been one of the internationals. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Maybe that's what we'll call our overseas viewers. The internationals. I guess maybe we'll put Flaming Heron at the head of them. Moonride Long. There is a fresh bundle of holding. It has arrived. It features Iron Kingdom's Requiem from Privateer Press, which is for, you guessed it, 5e D&D. I got the deets on the deal. Adventurer. This all-new Iron Kingdom's Requiem bundle presents the latest version of Iron Kingdom's Full Metal Fantasy, the mecha fantasy tabletop role-playing setting from Privateer Press, newly adapted for the Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition rules. Steam power and gunpowder meet sword and sorcery in the Iron Kingdoms, a fantastic world rebuilding itself after an apocalypse. Armed with mechanica and accompanied by mighty steamjacks, you'll play a human, gobber, trollkin, rulic dwarf, ogrin, Lausanne, or Nis-Elf in an adventuring company of gunfighters, gun mages, warcasters, arcane mechanics, and combat alchemists. Explore the soot-covered cities of the Iron Kingdoms as the world marches onward to industrial revolution. For just $14.95, you'll get all 5 titles in our starter collection, which have a retail value of $65, as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete Iron Kingdoms Requiem campaign setting, the 5e version of Monsternomicon, the Game Master's Toolkit, the full-length adventure Legend of the Witchfire, and an introductory adventure originally released for Free RPG Day 2021, An Echo in the Darkness. If you also pay more than the current threshold price of $30.71, you'll level up and also get the entire bonus collection with 5 more titles worth an additional $70, including the Wilderness expansion Borderlands and Beyond, and its Game Master companion, the Borderlands Survival Guide, along with 3 adventures: Shadow of the Seeker, Escape the Mind Slavers, and A Strange Light Breaks. Do want to point out, you do need the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons rules in order to use these books. And of course, those rules are not included in this offer, although it is very possible you could probably use the SRD. I'm just saying. These savings run through May 29th, and 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to Direct Relief. I always thought the Iron Kingdom setting was kind of cool. Gosh, now I'm trying to remember. It's hordes and... Is it War Master? No. It's not called the miniatures games. There's hordes and then there's the other. Which is really the Iron Kingdom's setting. And it's funny. I'm not trying to pick on Privateer Press at all. But I remember Privateer Press used to be a big deal. And when you would go to Gen Con, especially the first day on Thursday, when that exhibit hall would open up, people just made a beeline to the Privateer Press area, and it'd be jam-packed because they'd be picking up the newest miniature releases. Not anymore. Not anymore. So I was kind of like, I mean, they've had some problems with I guess, I was going to say the perception of how they treat their consumers, but maybe it's not just perception. I don't know. But I always thought the setting itself was pretty unique. I thought it was pretty cool. So, nice. Flaming Heron says they haven't thought of Iron Kingdoms in a lifetime. And there have been a few good bundles going on. The Facet Traveler one, which I think that is still going on Bundle of Holding. So, yes. Is it Facet Traveler? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think they did do one, didn't they? So, but hey, pretty cool bundle. Especially, if you're looking for new stuff to pop on into your 5e based role playing. Final news piece: Doctor Who the role playing game, the 13th Doctor Sourcebook, is now available for pre-order from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. And here's what I know. This sourcebook chronicles all of the 13th Doctor's adventures, not only on Earth with her newfound fam, but across the stars as new revelations are revealed that can destroy the very fabric of the universe. Featuring details of all the Doctor's allies, enemies, aliens, and gadgets. This sourcebook contains everything the Game Master could need for Doctor Who the role-playing game, as well as being an informative resource, I should say, for fans of the show. As the Doctor finds herself hurtling to Earth after her regeneration, she makes new friends that'll accompany her on brand new adventures, discovering a mysterious past with the secretive division, uncovering the plans of a new incarnation of the Master, trying to halt the relentless destruction of the Flux, to finding an incarnation of herself she didn't know even existed. It'll be frantic, exciting, and may shake what you believe down to the core. But whatever happens, it'll be brilliant. The 13th Doctor Sourcebook contains summaries of all of the 13th Doctor's adventures, from her fall to Earth to her confrontation with the Master Doctor, and how to run these adventures in your game. A detailed look at how the stories are connected, and plenty of ideas for game masters to create new adventures, as well as stats for the 13th Doctor and her extended fam, from Carbonista to Abby, Shauna, and Cleo. You can pre-order the 192-page hardcover for an MSRP of $44.99, which includes the PDF, with an expected release in Q4, or you can grab the PDF alone right now over at DriveThruRPG for $24.99. So yes, now Cubicle 7 is caught up with all of the Doctor source books from 1 through 13. So very nice. Very nice. Got to admit, I have not watched a lot of Doctor Who the past few seasons. And that goes back to, gosh, it was like towards the end of the Matt Smith run, I got to say. And it's, I don't know, the stories just weren't doing it for me. I'm fussy like that. So, I mean, I had absolutely nothing against Jodie Whittaker. I think she was fine in the episodes I saw. It was just kind of lackluster writing. So, Flaming Heron says, and what about the 14th Doctor? That book might be the shortest of them all. Yeah, seeing it's... So, is he the 14th? I know, I'm trying to stay away from spoilers, right? Is David Tennant going to be considered? I thought he is. And then I saw something not too long ago saying that, no, he's not really going to be considered the 14th Doctor. So I don't know. So don't those specials start this year? Are we going to see them this year? I think there's 4 of them. So Roger Prudhomme says, yes, he is. Okay, so he is the 14th Doctor. Like I said, I've heard 2 different things. So it's, once again, I hadn't been watching much Doctor Who. So it's not like I was like, oh, hey, I gotta check this out. So Roger says the 15th is already announced. Yes, I know that. I know that actor has been revealed. In fact, wasn't he revealed before they mentioned it was going to be David Tennant doing some specials? In my opinion, it's just me. And I like David Tennant. I thought David Tennant was great. I liked Peter Eccleston, too. I thought he was really good. It just, in my opinion, it just goes to show how the powers that be at the BBC is concerned about Doctor Who, about the future of Doctor Who, and how Doctor Who has been doing the past few years, that they're bringing David Tennant back to be the Doctor for a year. That's how I look at it. I'm just saying. It's like just my personal thoughts there. All righty. So that is the tabletop gaming news of the day. Do want to mention, I was talking about DriveThruRPG there at the end. The Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I'll get a small portion of that sale. Those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have an opportunity, comment in the comment section, even if it's a sentence, because that really does help the channel grow. You'd be amazed. But if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you feel thegaminggang.com is a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, please visit paypal.me/thegaminggang to make a small donation. And thankfully, there are quite a few folks out there who utilize our drive-through banner ads and or stop over at paypal.me. So thank you kindly, everybody. All right, Fleming Heron says, Christopher Eccleston, and yeah, they wanted him back for the 50th and went with John Hurt. Yeah, well, they kind of burned that bridge with Christopher. Although I guess time has passed where he's sort of like, well, yeah, he would, because he's been doing Big Finish audio stories. So that's kind of cool. Agent Especial is with us. He's one of our internationals. So welcome aboard. So before we jump on in and start taking a look at Star Trek Adventures Shackleton Expanse Campaign Guide, did want to mention something kind of a bummer, and I'm not going to reveal who the two companies are, but I swear it just, doing this can sometimes be kind of a, I don't want to say pain in the ass, but you gotta be able to shake off disappointment, maybe is what I'm trying to say here, or not have a big ego, because it's, you know, unfortunately, on one hand, there's a company that I've been working with for quite a while, and they just got a new PR person who I swear has been with 10 different companies in the past 3 years. And they don't like me. There you go, Dan Wheeler, roll with the punches. Yeah, I think that sums it up nicely. So now they're with this company that I've worked with for quite some time. She doesn't like me at all. So that's going to be the end of that. Until she moves on to some other company, or they move on, oops, to another company. There you go. Now I've actually been able to slim down all your choices of who it could be by half, because I revealed their gender. Then there's another company that I have done reviews of, shared news for over a decade, well over a decade. They had a recent PR person change, and now they don't even talk to me. They just ignore me. And it's like, what the hell? It's like, and I guess part of it is I'm not some young gay dude. I guess that must be it. It's not like if, like some handsome guy. It's like, sorry. I'm not an ass kisser. I guess that's got something to do with it too, probably. But yeah, it's really weird. It's such a bummer. Just like on Twitter today, I tweeted out because I had another company that reached out to me. I wasn't familiar with them. So they reached out and they were asking if I would promote their Kickstarter, if I would share news about their Kickstarter. And I went, took a look, and it's got videos from all the same old usual suspects who just shill everything that comes across, their desk. And I tell you folks all the time, there are outlets out there who swear up and down they do not take payment for their Kickstarter videos. And on the other hand, I have publishers tell me exactly what those outlets charge for their Kickstarter coverage. If I take money for a Kickstarter video, I let you know. I tell you in the video. So, and normally what I do is it's more that they're paying for the advertising on the website more than anything else. So, Flaming Heron says, what did I do? Like I do nothing. I didn't do anything. I'm telling you, it's, on one hand, it's almost as if, well, I understand that many publishers out there do not like honest reviews. They don't want honest reviews. They want somebody to sit there and say, oh, hey, this is really great. Just like I saw, once again, I'm not going to mention the company, but it was the company that reached out and asked me to share a news piece today. And they had, all these quotes to go along with the videos from, as I said, the usual suspects. And one of the quotes was, I'm trying to remember, it's going to be paraphrased, but it was along the lines of, the artwork is really cool and this looks really interesting. That's a fucking review? Really? I was really shocked that they were even including that. Because it's sort of like, what the hell is that? But I got to say, these days, most publishers, not all of them, and you can tell who is out there who's, well, you know what? We like honest reviews because they keep sending me stuff. But there are companies out there who just don't want. And the funny thing is, it's not as if I publish reviews that are overly negative, because that's just not my thing. It's not my bag of tricks. I don't like being overly negative. I don't like giving, bad review scores or, like a 3 or a 4. So normally in that case, I contact the publisher, let them know what the review is going to be. And as of late, most of the time they just say, well, don't worry about the review then. Don't do the review. But I mean, there are companies out there. I just did a review for a game where I gave it an 8 out of 10. And I had some minor quibbles, and the publisher was like, "Oh, wait, oh, God, could we possibly play this game online?" And I was like, "No, I already reviewed it." "Oh, well, you mentioned something, and I don't think you're correct, and I want to show you why." And I'm like, "I'm telling you, I've played this game multiple times, and this is what I think. This is what I saw take place during the games. This is what I experienced. So it is in my review." And Flaming Heron points out 8 is good. 8 is great. A 7 is a positive recommendation. You could even look at a 6 being a game that's probably all right for the right crowd or with some tweaks. Flaming Heron says, "Quick money comes with slow problems, though. If people were punished for giving reviews in bad faith, it might change things. Unfortunately, people take the money and run and don't see repercussions." Tessie Trekkie is in chat with us. And of course, Flaming Heron also mentioned money talks and bullshit walks. Yes, that's a classic. So yeah, so the two companies that I've worked with for quite some time, one over a decade, it's not even a thing where it's like they're concerned about, like a review or something. It's just one person, I guess, doesn't know me and has no interest in knowing about this outlet that's worked with that company for over a decade. And then the other is just somebody who is probably part of a game crowd that I'm not part of. Whatever. But it is a bummer. It really is. Because it's like, sometimes I think most people don't realize that there's actually quite a lot of work involved in this. Right? And I'm not an outlet like others out there that's constantly reaching into your pocket in a variety of different ways. So it's not like I sit here and I, resort to Patreons or Kickstarters and things like that so that I can, so people wonder why I don't. And I'm going to wrap this up because I don't want to be carrying on about this, for like 20 minutes. One of the reasons why I don't do Patreons or Kickstarters, I did a Kickstarter once years and years ago. That was back when Elliot was part of the gaming gang, and it was kind of his idea. And it was all right. It was fine. And it wasn't Kickstarter. I think it was Indiegogo we did. And I did a Patreon once, and then Patreon changed their structure, and they were, in my opinion, ripping off the supporters. So I was like, screw this. I'm not going to have a Patreon anymore. So I don't do those things because I feel weird getting review copies, which are free, that are sent to me. Every once in a while, I'll buy something and I'll do a review. So I get that, and then I'm going to turn around and try to get money from you so I can share coverage of this free stuff I get. To me, it feels weird. It just feels weird, and that's why I don't do it. Flaming Heron says, "Jeff doesn't ask much. All you need to do is like and hopefully comment on the video. Throw him some bones if you can. One of the best free content sources." Tessie Trekkie says, "Jeff, listening to you rant is music to my ears." Well, I should let you know, I have a new album coming out. It'll be available on Patreon once I kickstart it. And I'm not in a bad mood. It's like just two things in one day. It's like, wow, really? Man. And the worst part of it is the one company that I've worked with for over a decade. I've considered quite a few of the people there friends of mine in the industry, and none of them have anything to do with their PR person. So, and I don't want to be the guy who goes over somebody's head and they're like, oh, hey, so-and-so isn't being nice to me. I don't want to do that. I figure it's just like, you know what? Your company made its decision. Your PR person made their decision. So you just won't see coverage from me anymore. Oh, well. So, Agent Especial says, it's hard enough trying to make your own way without having to be burdened with the opinions of others. Yeah, well, there's plenty of opinions out there on YouTube, I'll tell you that much. So, Flanagan asks if the new album is Jeff Rants to the Classics. Yes, and it's going to be through KTEL. So, yeah, it's going to be on the KTEL label. Alrighty, so we are going to be diving on in and taking a first look at Star Trek Adventures Shackleton Expanse in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
No need for you to use a magic carpet to get refreshment. Close by, you'll always find the friendly red sign and delicious, ice-cold Coca-Cola.
Yes. I know, you're sitting there, wait, what? There's no Wilkins and Wonkins? What? Getting spoiled out there. So I thought, you know what? That, isn't it Walt Lance who did Woody Woodpecker? Because that's who did that Coke intermission. I thought, yeah, that's pretty long. So I think that'll just be the entire intermission. Alrighty then. So today, excuse me. Today we are going to dive on in and take a first look at Star Trek Adventures Shackleton Expanse Campaign Guide from Modiphius Entertainment. It's written by Derek Tyler Attico, Kelly Fitzpatrick, Jim Johnson, Scott Person, Dayton Ward, Patrick Goodman, Rich Handley, John Kennedy, not John F. Kennedy, Ian Lemke, Fred Love, and Aram N. Palia. I'm sure I destroyed at least 2 of those names. My apologies. This 320-page hardcover is available now. It carries an MSRP of $59.99, or you can grab the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $23. So Tessie Trekkie says Shackleton Expanse is a thick tome, and Flaming Heron says definitely one of the biggest releases for Star Trek Adventures. And Double T says it has the cutest hexapod aliens that are ever made it into the Star Trek canon. All right, well, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Shackleton Expanse. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the shrink wrap off. So the fine folks over at Modiphius Entertainment sent this along for review. I gotta be honest, this kind of showed up out of nowhere. I was not expecting this at all. It just bing appeared. I thought, hey, that's kind of cool. We are getting an opportunity to check out more releases from Modiphius Entertainment, so that's pretty sweet. So this is a review copy that was sent from Modiphius Entertainment, as I just pointed out. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. We just got done talking about this kind of stuff before the brief intermission. Anyway, it's important that you know that. Also, we're not going to look at each and every page inside here, but do want to give you a good feel for what's in this campaign guide. And I'm really interested in this as well, because as far as I understand, this is the first campaign that was released for Star Trek Adventures. Now, there are some quadrant books that are out. There are quite a few standalone adventures, but this is the first campaign-length adventure out there, and I think it's the original series and Next Generation. We'll find out as we take a peek through. Last thing I do want to mention, this is an adventure book, so if you're a player hoping your game master is going to pick up Shackleton Expanse, or maybe they have already and they haven't started running it yet, I would definitely recommend you tune out now. Because you don't want any surprises ruined just because I happen to open up to a page that has a spoiler. So Flaming Heron says they like that the content is not entirely focused on Starfleet, that they were hoping for more of this since the Klingon release. Yeah, because there is the Klingon release, which in essence is the rules of Star Trek Adventures for the Klingon Empire. I thought that was pretty cool. Into the Unknown. This is where the adventure is. This is where heroes are made. Dr. Julian Bashir. Or is it Bashar? I thought it's Bashar, isn't it? Anyway. The Shackleton Expanse Campaign Guide for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game presents an all-new area of the Beta Quadrant, the Shackleton Expanse. Countless wonders and mysteries await within, including strange spatial phenomena that confuse sentient life forms, as well as starship sensors, ancient alien technologies, powerful enough to move or obliterate entire star systems, dangerous new species to encounter, and so much more. JC is joining us in chat. Welcome back. Even with the growing threat in the Alpha Quadrant, the Federation and Klingon Empire endeavor to continue exploring the vastness of space. You and your crew are assigned to Starbase 364 with a mandate to explore the depths of the Shackleton Expanse. What will you discover within? And of course, it talks about what's in the book, but we're going to take a look inside anyway. So here we've got our star map. Very nice. We've got all of our credits. And of course, we've got quite a lot of artists here. I'm not going to read their names because I'll butcher them worse than I did with the authors. But just to give you an idea, all of our contents. All right, so first thing I want to point out, I am going to address the black hole in the room, I guess. I am not a fan of light text on dark background. I am just not. I find it's very tiring for my eyes. So normally, with Modiphius Entertainment, a lot of times if you purchase the books through them, the physical books, they do include the PDF, and they usually have a printer-friendly PDF copy, which means it's got a white background. So there is some discussion of William Shatner doing an album of Disney songs into the unknown. I got to be honest, I'm going to go off on a little rant here. So back when we used to do the podcast, Elliot and I was in Arizona and Elliot was back here in the Chicago area. And how we would do it is I would record my portion of it, he'd record his portion of it, and then he would upload the MP3, and then I would mix the two together. So it sounded like we were in the same room, but we obviously weren't. We were like 1,800 miles apart. And what we would usually do is we'd usually talk for about a half hour before we got the episode going. And one time, I don't know what it was, I was channeling George Takei and just doing a George Takei like impersonation, and it was like spot on. And I could hear Elliot at the other end, he was dying. And I could never do it again. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the right combination of alcohol I had partaken in before doing the show or what. So, I used to do a pretty good Shatner. Enter the Shackleton Expanse. Despite all we know now, in early 2371, and with all the areas of the Alpha and Beta quadrants, we have surveyed and mapped, there are still huge swaths of space still unknown to us, even with the looming Dominion threat and the potential for other Borg incursion. Exploration remains Starfleet's primary mission. We look toward the uncharted regions of space and investigate them to push the boundaries of our knowledge one sector at a time. So I believe this is a sandbox that we are going to have set pieces. We are going to have some specific campaign events, but it is not a linear campaign. From my knowledge, I don't know. I could be absolutely wrong. So, Luis Philippe Bouchard, who I believe this might be a first-time visit, says, you're telling us you do a George Takei impersonation. You have to try to do it live. I only did it once. That's what I'm saying. I did it once out of nowhere. And it was something along the lines of like George Takei was hosting like a talk show. Oh my. And it was just, he was supposed to be a talk show guest and he was ripping on Shatner. So, but yeah, I do not do a George Takei impersonation by any stretch. It just happened once. Players, stop reading here. There you go. Using this content outside the Shackleton Expanse. Even if you're not planning to run adventures or campaigns within the Shackleton Expanse, you should have no problem using the contents of this book in your game. With a little creative tweaking, most of its contents could be dropped into any Star Trek Adventures mission, no matter the era or the setting. Player character options, mission briefs, adventures, vessels, and NPCs contained within this book could be adapted as needed, and Starbase 364 could simply be renamed and dropped into any sector of known space that needs a starbase. As Spock once said, there are always possibilities. Nice. Very cool. Hopefully this is fairly clear during the stream here. I'm always trying to do my best to get the sharpest images. It is sometimes an upward battle, that's for sure. So it looks like we've got some sidebars discussing the kind of different sides of the same, I guess we'll say, topic or subject, coming from the Federation as well as the Klingon point of view. We got our known history of the Expanse. Here's Starbase 364. Construction of the Deep Space Station, formerly designated as Starbase 364, uniformly known as Narendra Station, began in the early 2350s. The station was deemed fully operational in 2369. 69, dude! Built in tribute to the Klingon colonists who were massacred during a Romulan sneak attack against the Narendra 3 outpost in 2344. The starbase also serves as a reminder of the pivotal shift in Klingon Federation relations that assault caused. And of course, settle on in, because you know you're in store for some fictional names and places to be mispronounced. So get ready for it. So we've got our known worlds and locations. I got to say, this is, even with it being light on dark, this is a pretty impressive looking book. And I always do like the next generation sort of styling to the graphics. I have to say, I always appreciate that about a lot of the Star Trek Adventures releases. I'll be the first to point out, I have not seen many of them. I did review the core book in PDF. That was back when I was doing written reviews. And of course, we have taken a look at the tricorder special edition that has kind of the pocket size rule book. And then we've got this. So, I mean, that's pretty much the extent of my Star Trek Adventures coverage. So maybe we'll have an opportunity to check out some more stuff. Maybe like that Klingon book. I mean, I would love to have a physical copy of the core book, like the regular size core book. So it looks like we've got some different factions within the Expanse. So it appears as if early on, we are getting kind of a gazetteer. Are those anthropomorphic animals? Wait a second here. I know. I think I've given people the impression that I really detest anthropomorphic animal stuff. It's not that. I just don't like it mixing with other sorts of role-playing games. So we've got some other factions. The Cardassian Union. There are 4 lights. That's like a running joke with Elliot and I. Just bust that out of nowhere and he'll just start laughing. So we've got, looks like we've got the different species. I think that was one of the creatures that was on that ship. But I was like, is that an anthropomorphic animal? What's going on? Or character? So I think we've got a few new species that you can actually play as. So we have the Tillicol, or maybe these are like the major players. So Tessie Trekkie says, hello, hexapod otters who can model a warp engine in their cute little heads. Oh, maybe these are movers and shakers in this campaign. So it says, Game Master note, the contents of this subchapter collect much information about the Tillicol in one place for ease of reference. Some of the data detailed herein would not be known to a crew in 2269 or even most of 2371, as much of it is discovered during the course of the Tillicol saga detailed in Chapter 6. Aha. Very solid artwork throughout, I must say. Okay, so here is, I'm going to take a guess. This is the beginning of the adventure. And it looks as if, say, I thought this took place during both the original series and Next Generation. I guess you decide to choose, which I guess would make sense. Although, hasn't Modiphius Entertainment released some adventures that actually are kind of like dual eras, where like the first portion of the adventure takes place like the original series, and then the conclusion or the second half is like Next Generation? I could have swore that I did a news piece for an adventure like that. All right, so we're getting through the adventures here, and a few things I do want to mention just about Star Trek Adventures as a whole. It does utilize the 2D20 system that many of the Modiphius Entertainment role-playing games are built upon, but it is probably, I don't know. I'd say it's probably, I'm going to say it's the lightest, the rules lightest of the bunch. I think, well, from, my experience with some of those games, I would say it's kind of neck and neck with John Carter, Warlord of Mars. But say like Achtung Cthulhu 2D20 is more complex. I even think Dune might be more complex, but not much. We've talked about this before, that the 2D20 system, I think, kind of scares some people off, because it is a little bit different. But it isn't as if you're constantly rolling tons and tons of 20-sided dice. So another thing to point out is that Star Trek Adventures is kind of a scene-based role-playing game. So you have different acts, as you see here, the needs of the few. Act 1, new life and new civilizations. And then within each act, you'll have different scenes. So it isn't designed like a traditional role-playing game where it's like, oh, okay, so it's kind of like a wilderness hex crawl or a dungeon delve or anything along those lines. So it looks like we've got a lot going on here. Tessie Trekkie has experience with this book, so I'm kind of curious if they have run this and how many sessions they think this might run, because it looks like we've got quite a lot in here. It looks like we got some Romulans. So, Shackleton Expanse Campaigns. As noted in this book's introduction, this chapter is designed to support you, the Game Master, in planning and running Star Trek Adventures campaigns that include the Telakal saga or parts of it, and is set either in, near, or outside the Shackleton Expanse. Whether you're running a Federation-focused campaign or one centering on a crew of Klingon warriors, the overall tone of a Shackleton Expanse or Telakal, I don't know, like I said, I'm probably mispronouncing that, themed campaign will likely be the same. Boldly going where no one has gone before. Admiralty level campaigns. So we've got different styles of play. See, that was something else I had heard about this. And I had heard that this has a really good mix of kind of action and also investigative adventuring. And in my opinion, that if you're running a Star Trek role-playing game, you have got to have a mix between adventures that have combat and action and others that are just like solving mysteries, piecing together a puzzle, because you can't have a constant, just action-packed, nonstop, ships blowing up all over the place, people phasering each other. You can't have that sort of game and have it feel like it's Star Trek. But you also can't just have a game where it's like, oh, it's the mystery of the week, because then that's not Star Trek either. Flaming Heron says, seems like a lot to draw upon. Yes, and we have some mission briefs too in here. It looks like it is just short, little kind of, I don't want to say nuggets, because it's far more than just that. But we have these different mission briefs. So as an example, Emergency on SETI Alpha 5, suggested era play, original series era, spotlight role captain, synopsis. The Enterprise, en route to SETI Alpha 5 to rescue the Reliance crew, loses warp power after the failure repairs the battle damage received while defeating Khan Nguyen Singh. Yeah, I'm a goof. The player's ship takes over the evacuation. As they enter the system, scans trigger a signal from an obelisk within the SETI Alpha 6 debris. At SETI Alpha 5, transporters are jammed. Shuttlecraft start the evacuation while a landing party finds the jamming source, an underground base on the far side of the planet. The base was activated by the signal from the obelisk. The jamming signal is the first part of a self-defense program leading to the planet's destruction. It's a race to complete the evacuation before the planet explodes. Nice. So it looks like we've got a lot of these mission briefs. Something else I should mention about Star Trek Adventures is Modiphius Entertainment from time to time will release free adventures. So we see that quite a bit. We also have the various different crews available as PDF downloads. I know they've got their Discovery book. I'm pretty sure it's out in PDF. It's not out in print yet. So which was something people were really excited about because when Star Trek Adventures first came out, it had been out for a little bit. People in Discovery premiered. A lot of people were curious if that was going to get the Star Trek Adventures treatment. And at that point in time, no one really knew because it wasn't part of the deal that Modiphius Entertainment had made with Paramount. And then, of course, now we have that source book. I think it would be kind of cool if we see a Strange New Worlds book come out. But of course, I do believe that we would need to see at least another season. So once we have season 2 come out and wrap up, I think that would probably have enough in it as a supplement. So we've got allies and adversaries, quite a lot of these. I will mention the paper stock is nice and thick. It is not as thick as last night and the night prior with the Lord of the Rings role-playing, but I will say far thicker than what you would find, say, with Wizards of the Coast. So we have Beasts of the Shackleton Expanse. So we got a little bit of a bestiary. Looks like we've got some images here as well. We have new starships and vessels. Sweet. Another selling point of Star Trek Adventures is that each of the players have their role in like starship combat, which I think is very important. So everybody stays pretty much involved. Now that tends to be kind of a thing now with most science fiction role-playing games, but that wasn't always the case back in the day. So we've got quite a few different ships. Then we have creating your own Shackleton Expanse and mapping new sectors. All right. And then we'll wrap up with an index. And this is the Borg Cube for Star Trek Adventures. I think that's what they call it. I think they call that the Borg Cube. And some Fallout and some Dune. Sweet. All right. So that is a look at Star Trek Adventures Shackleton Expanse Campaign Guide from Modiphius Entertainment. Of course, I will have a review of Shackleton Expanse in the not too distant future. Sweet. This looks really cool. This looks very, very cool. I have to point out, I am a big fan of reviewing adventures. I just am. To me, well, I guess I would say I enjoy all role-playing game releases that I get a chance to read through and stuff. But I tend to have a little better time when they're adventures. Because then I can imagine, oh, okay, so I can see how my gang is gonna respond to this, or even particular players, like my best friend Elliot. I'm pretty good on figuring out what he's gonna do in any given situation in a role-playing game because I've played so many with him, or I guess I should say I've run so many for him. So, but this looks cool. Very nice. Kathy Evans says, yes, they agree. It looks good. Sweet. All right. So that is it for this time out. I still don't know what's going on with the schedule of the show. So I will probably find something out tomorrow or Friday. So if you follow me on Twitter, I will announce it there if there's a change. If I'm going to start going to the Tuesday through Thursday as opposed to Monday through Wednesday. If you don't follow me on Twitter or you avoid Twitter like the plague, I will also share that information here on YouTube on our community page. If you didn't know, the Gaming Gang does have a community page here on YouTube that I share what's coming up on just about every show. So I will announce it then. But next week, yes, Flaming Heron's telling everybody what it is, which is fine. It's not a surprise. I've mentioned it all week. It'll be Cyberpunk Red Week. So we will dive in on the first show next week, Monday or Tuesday. We're going to dive on into the core rulebook for Cyberpunk Red. I also have the data pack and Black Chrome. I think Black Chrome is the most recent release. So if that is the case, I got to double check. What I'll probably end up doing is second show next week. We'll take a look at Tales of Red or of the Red. Yeah, it is the Red. So that we will take a look at, and I'll probably bust open the data pack with that as a bonus. And then the final show next week, we'll take a look at Black Chrome. Flaming Hero is pointing out the Gaming Gang also has a website. That's right, it's called thegaminggang.com. I will mention that again in just a moment. So there you have it. You know what's coming up next week. And JC says they're pumped for this. I believe they're saying they're pumped for Cyberpunk Red. Anyway, if you were watching live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat while watching live, hey, big tip of the cap. Because not only do you keep me company, but you keep each other company while I'm sharing the news or paging through or cracking open a box. So I definitely appreciate that quite a lot. But of course, I know not everybody gets an opportunity to watch this live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. I really do appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your busy lives to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. So everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it happens to be. Be sure to give a thumbs up if you like this video, and if you hung out watching this, I have to assume you like the video. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you do subscribe, ding that bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live 3 nights a week here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of Rivers of London, the role-playing game from Chaosium Inc. If you have not checked it out, take a peek. It is good stuff, Maynard. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Of course, I'll be back Monday or Tuesday. Stay tuned. If you don't hear anything, it's Monday. That's how it'll work. And of course, until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course,